from that, please welcome Vanessa, from the Chief People Officer of Ogilvy, and we welcome back Dan again to join the chat. During the chat, if you have any questions, just drop into the chat box, and Dan will help you to deliver to Vanessa. Yeah, so I will start share screen right now, and you can see just to stick on the screen.
Okay, I'm here.
Vanessa.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Vanessa.
Should we put Vanessa on the screen? There you go. Wonderful. All right, Vanessa. So I know you feel a little bit left out because you don't have the sparkly background. So you're so Vanessa, you're the Chief People Officer at Ogilvy in Vietnam. If I know it well, and I used to work for Ogilvy for about 10 years, you are the first Chief People Officer, at least at Ogilvy in Vietnam.
Yeah, so that is correct. Yeah, so it's a new role for everybody. They didn't really know in the beginning what the role is about, but it's a very exciting time because just 3 weeks into my role, we started to work from home. But yeah, somehow I think this has also speed up the way that people saw the people function. Again, it's a broad role on people management. And now from my observation, people somehow have shifted all their concerns from the classic HR to now saying, hey, where are the people team? So that's quite nice.
Right. So yeah, maybe you can share a little bit with the group here, a lot of your peers, a lot of people in the creative industry, cool apps all the way from Sweden, even Denise joining today. So can you share a little bit about kind of your background and why you decided to join Ogilvy, especially in this really new role?
Right. So first, I want to thank you, Dan, and the Dreamplex team for inviting me to be here today. So again, I'm Vanessa, everyone. I see many familiar faces. I see many friends as well in this list of participants. I'm really excited to speak to you as well later in the networking part. We haven't seen each other. We can't see each other except for virtual coffee. So this is quite exciting to see all of you. So to introduce myself, I've been in the advertising industry for 12 years. I started my career in the industry back home in Manila with the Ogilvy Group. I'm really a homegrown talent. I started as an AE until, over the years, I was entrusted to be in a management role. So I was the general manager in one of the business units. And me going back to Ogilvy recently, which is this year, it all started with me one Sunday morning. I was having breakfast with Soms, our CEO, and I was telling him about my future plan, which is enrolling in an MBA program. And I said, I think I'm going to do a little bit of a career change or adjustment. And the next thing I knew is Soms is offering me this role of Chief People Officer. How it all started, yeah.
He said, you want some change? I got it for you, don't worry, yeah.
Yes, and everything was very fast. It was faster than I could process. But I think it was really good because doing it in my role, I have business background, and now I merge that with the science of people management, and it's quite fulfilling, yeah.
Very interesting. And I know that Soms, who I worked for a few years when he was still based in Hong Kong, really is obsessed. He was at the launch of this report last year when we did the first edition, and he got really obsessed about Gen Z. I think that's kind of in advertising and in media, you're creating for your target audience. So obviously, it's the same with your employees. It's the same with the people that you create for. You need to understand them deeply in order to create either great creative work or to, create a great place for people to work. So I know he has this kind of ambition of being the best workplace in Vietnam, at least for within the industry. Do you have a sense for why Ogilvy is or could be such an attractive place for Gen Z to work? Besides the fact, as SK shared earlier, that most of Gen Zs want to work in media, creative, or entertainment.
Right. So I think for Ogilvy, it's really about our beliefs and values and our views of the Gen Z. So we see this generation as very talented generation of hybrids who are really into experience everything and miss nothing. So what we offer them at Ogilvy for it to make it an attractive workplace is that we provide them this personalized work experience. And it's really about having multiple programs, multiple initiatives, so that they can have new experience in varied disciplines. Also, the thing about Gen Z is that you cannot push them to learn. They want to learn when they want to learn. So it's really about providing that ability to give them that new experience when they are ready for it. And then another layer to that is you have to do it in a very entertaining, or in a very in a manner that they could enjoy. So we have programs for them when it comes to personalized experience. We have mobility programs. This is moving between business units. We do a lot of training so that then they can be prepared and they really have a basic knowledge of where they would like to move if they want to consider moving to other business units, like we have OgilvyVietnam experience. And then we have partnership with our key clients where you can actually have the opportunity to get seconded in the client role. And this one, from what we see from Gen Z, they find it very, very exciting because they would like to be in a creative role, but at the same time, they want to see what is out there in the client side. So we have that as our program. Also, Gen Z, they value well-being a lot. I've never seen a generation so aware and so conscious of well-being. So we have wellness programs, and then again, talent training, certification programs. And I think the last bit is really about authenticity. So we talk about personalized experiences. And I'm basically a living example of somebody who wants to pursue a different journey. I would like to pursue my higher education, but at the same time, enjoy what I do. So my role is crafted for my ambition. So me being able to go through that firsthand, I can actually guide them better to make sure that when we say personalized experience, we can really make it happen.
Wow, that's there's a lot to unpack there, because it sounds like there's a lot of programs, right? You mentioned like there's a well-being program, there's a learning and development program. So it sounds like Ogilvy is investing a lot and creating a lot quite programmatically. So not kind of like leaving people on their own, but saying, you know, when you come to work here, you know, not only will you have a great job with great colleagues, and you get to work for great brands, but actually at the same time, we also have a lot of programs that will allow you to learn and grow and be well. And how much of that is globally created? Because obviously Ogilvy is a big global network, versus how much does that come from either, you know, the region or even locally?
If we put it on percentage, maybe only 30% is coming from global. Of course, the certification programs, these are global. These are with Forrester, with Google, with Adobe. But I'd say this is a small portion.
Just to drop a few names, yes.
No, because it's we have this training list of everything, and we really look at where are they in their stage of learning, and we have chat with them, individual one-on-one chat, and really see how can we move them up, how can we upskill them, where's their next level. So like what you said, it's not so easy to work with Gen Z because they are a work in progress generation. They want to continue exploring new paths to be able to test their limits. But really, it's about making their this journey to become a better version of themselves. So we're really keeping that in mind. That's why we have this approach of talking to them individually and really seeing how we can progress their skills and capability.
Very interesting. So I picked up on something there that sounds quite intriguing, which is Gen Z is a work in progress generation. So we just heard a little bit, and there's a lot of insights in the report about how Gen Z wants to learn and grow. Development is really important. Can you maybe like dig a little bit deeper on, you know, how you guys are supporting them to go on that journey of growth, both personally and professionally? And I think, again, because the first part of this event was so theoretical, it's a lot of statistics. You know, we really love to hear like more practically, you know, what could companies kind of learn from Ogilvy / steal or copy, you know, in terms of like what you guys are actually doing. So how are you guys actually supporting them on that journey?
Right. I'm actually very happy to see the sharing of the research result. It says there over about 54% are into new skills and new knowledge. So it makes me feel that we're doing the right thing. We are in the right direction. So when it comes to training, I'd say that we really take it seriously in providing best in class training. So we consider Ogilvy as a teaching hospital where we teach on the job. We have in-house specialists, and we have many of them. So they're the one who really teach us to make sure that the Gen Z can excel in their craft. The second one is, I really like this line. We want to pay them with inspiration. So like what Aska said
Pay
earlier,
them with inspiration.
pay them with
They're
inspiration.
still getting paid salary too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Not enough. It's not enough, right, to keep them. So we pay them with inspiration by inviting industry experts. In fact, by end of this month, we will have John Alfarovich. I don't know, everybody is from the creative industry, so probably you know him. He's probably one of the best DOP, director of photography, not only in Vietnam, but probably all over the world. And the team is very excited to have him as one of our guest speakers to talk about technical things, about lighting. I was just talking the other day, arranging that training program, but that's one example of paying our Gen Z with inspiration, giving them something that they didn't know before, but at the same time, they find really interesting. They're very curious to learn. So we do a lot of that. I mentioned online certifications earlier. So these are really about licensed programs. And then the other one is we also offer self-paced learning. We have partnership with LinkedIn on this one. And lastly, we also give a choice of doing mini MBA, because some of them, they would like to pursue higher education, but maybe they don't have time. So we also support them on that. We have few in the office who have done that program.
So this is a very eclectic plate. Maybe I'm thinking too much about breakfast because it's early, but it's a very eclectic plate of ways to learn and grow. I really like that idea of like paying an inspiration. Obviously, the big question then will be, because we have people on the call today from, anywhere from like a 4 or 5 person, media startup all the way to companies with thousands of people. This sounds really expensive. So I'm just going to ask the question that probably a lot of people on the call are thinking about. Okay, like getting them a LinkedIn Learning subscription, inviting the director of photography, doing the partnerships, like all these things combined, that must be really expensive. So how do you kind of balance, even you probably don't have unlimited budgets, right? So how do you kind of balance the ability to kind of develop them with still making it work financially?
I'd say, Dan, that
sorry to throw in money so early, but I'm sure people are wondering.
No, look, I know it looks like, oh, that's a lot of money, but really it is not. Even on external guest speakers, this is through the work that we do with John. So the team had been working with John. And I think it's really just about ideas, right? We talk to the team and we ask them, okay, you know what, creative team, you love inspiration. What would you like to learn about? It's really just a lot of practical listening and understanding. And then from there, calling people that we know. I mean, all of us, I see everybody in this list, we are all in this industry for maybe over 10, 15 years. So, and we're all friends in this industry. So I think it's easy enough to call each other and say, hey, would you like to do this for my team? And we do the same thing, right? If they want to consult with us on our subject matter expertise, and we do that. So it's really not that expensive to do all of this.
So it may not be expensive then in terms of money, but it surely is expensive in time, because just thinking about like those initiatives, we do obviously a lot of training and development on behalf of our community, our clients, and just putting together one training. There's finding the right guest speaker, reviewing the material, getting people registered, creating the communication for it. So there's so many things that come into play when you have to develop something like that. So even if it's not expensive in terms of finances, how many people do you have working on this? How do you kind of get this out?
Right. You know the process perfectly, Dan, and just by listening from you, you're right. It takes a bit of time in preparing the training. There's really a lot of, okay, this is the area that the team would like to learn about cinematography. And then after that, you kind of check the content. Sometimes you also have to help the guest speaker depending on what is their comfort level in presenting formally. But really, it's a small team that would just be me and I'd say one junior who is helping out on the admin, like, sending out calendars. And after that, we just plan it based on the calendar. So I think you'd really spend 4 or 5 hours preparing one training, and really that's it.
Okay, not too bad. So when you were saying, oh, it's just me with one junior, I was starting to think about, okay, how many hours are you working? Which obviously brings us perfectly to the next topic. But as Tu just posted in the chat, anyone who has any questions, obviously we would love to hear them for the last kind of like 5 minutes together before we go into the breakouts. And Paul just dropped in a question, so let me ask this one, and then Paul will go to yours, which is a really interesting one. Just kind of on well-being, right? So this is also one of the things that came out in the research. We didn't really dig into it today, but one of the key findings in that area is that actually well-being, and specifically mental well-being support, actually ranks higher in terms of what perks Gen Z wants from the company that they work for, higher than team bonding, higher than certain incentives. Getting support on mental well-being, kind of like balancing themselves, kind of maybe in a way understanding how to navigate this world. So how do you guys do that? Because I know from experience, 10 years in the creative industry, I will not mention which agency, it can be quite full on, right? It can be quite night and day. You're kind of at the beck and call of clients that ask you to do work at any hour of the day. So how do you support people on that mental well-being?
It's interesting that you asked this question, because just last week we were on our first week where we did the Friday half day program. I called the program because we were observing on what people share, and the Gen Z particularly. We've had one case back in July who said, working from home is too difficult for me. When we are back in office, I'm gonna apply again. So basically they would say,
what a very Gen Z thing to say.
Yes, correct. So since we were talking about that, we really dig deeper and we realized that this is very tough for them, working from home, not seeing their teams. In fact, in your research, you also mentioned that 44% want to work in group and in person. So it's really true, right? This is our personal experience. So knowing this and understanding this, what we have done is we provided venue for them to be able to have a space where they can have fun with the team. So we did some trivia nights, we did happy hour. Also, a few weeks back, we even changed this into being able to break them down into smaller groups. So we did online crossword puzzles with them, things that they have to guess what is that magic word that they have to know. And then we gave out some prizes. So after listening, we do the activities. We're shifting them online because we cannot see each other. But these are the ways that we are helping the Gen Z.
So I love that idea of a kind of like Friday afternoon off, because I think all of our works and lives are blending together. And I think, again, listening, seeing in our team, listening to our customers, so hearing it from you, that can be quite challenging to navigate, especially for Gen Z, especially for people like them who are kind of just coming into the workforce. That's like a lot of newness anyway. But then how do you make sure that you can actually deliver on that, right? Because it's one way to say for an employer, kind of the famous example of giving unlimited days off. And then the research actually shows that people take less days off when there's an unlimited PTO policy, right? Because they feel the pressure to be in the office and to show that they're not the one abusing the policy. So how do you make sure that people then actually can take that Friday afternoon off? How do you make it practically happen?
Yeah, very good question, Dan. Before we rolled out that program, we did a small survey and basically said, we're thinking about this. What do you think? Would this help you? Because like what you said, they need a pause in their life. Working from home is just nonstop. And they said, well, yeah, we believe you. We believe our management. But like what you said, Dan, we cannot control the client. The client would give us a brief at 6 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. So then with the exco and the management team leads, we had this meeting where we said, look, there's no better time but now to show our team that we really want them to have this break. We want to have this wellness break. So what we did is our senior leaders actually wrote the senior client members and to tell them that, look, we can care for you better when our team is better, when our people are better. And several clients really appreciated that. In fact, one of them from one of our big clients wrote me over the weekend and said, hey, I'm really jealous. So then I ended up telling her, well, you better talk to your boss.
Yeah, or this could be a great recruiting strategy, right? So if people kind of like start talking about it, I think this all comes back to the same point, right? I think a lot of times, people are thinking about, doing employer branding or generally creating a great employee experience. It's all about investment and it costs a lot of money. But I think as you're kind of saying, you're tapping into your network. It's more kind of like showing that level of care, allowing people to take that break. That obviously really, really works when you're trying to put that kind of like image out into the market that you're a great place for Gen Z to work. So we have 2 submitted questions and we have 0 minutes. So I'm going to do a quick fire round with the 2 audience questions. So first of all, Paul Espinas from Up, Move Up, Nest. He has so many startups going on right now, video production. He is asking maybe a little bit about your background. Do you see any key differences in terms of engaging Filipino Gen Z and then their Vietnamese counterpart in 30 seconds?
Oh, I'd say that this generation, they're very digital, very online. And because of that, there are really no borders in their culture, the way that they behave. Everybody's on TikTok. Everybody likes short content. Nobody likes to talk with their video on. So I would say there might be differences, but very, very little differences. So
okay. So what unites them, what unifies them is bigger than maybe the difference between the culture. It's really about like what they grew up in. And then EJ, ex Ogilvy, asks, when you're looking into, we're talking obviously a lot about Gen Z, but when you're looking into some of the other generations in the workplace, right? Maybe the millennials, maybe even older than that. When you're thinking about something like learning and development, do you take different approaches? Do you see any conflicts between those generations?
We have different approach for each generation because where they want to learn and how they want to learn also are very different. So Gen Z, normally these are more entry-level roles, but the mid-level roles, we have a different program for them, more on leadership areas, management areas. So definitely there are differences in the approach, but do we see conflicts? No, we don't, because in fact, this is where the whole talent trend is going now. Everybody's looking for more personalized work experiences or career experiences.
Right. If you take sort of personalization, which is also obviously a big thing in marketing over the last few years, if you take that idea of personalization and flexibility, you actually bake it in that it works for everyone, and that basically everyone can kind of like choose to learn and grow and work and get inspired in the way that they are looking for. Okay, well, thanks, Paul and EJ, for the great questions. That's really great. And thank you, Vanessa, for joining us today to share all your wisdom. I'm going to hand it back to Tu, but I think you're going to be joining some of the breakout groups. So people who may be lucky to be in the group with Vanessa, you'll see her soon again. And then obviously, I think she is also very open to connecting with everyone after the session and sharing any other things that Ogilvy is doing in terms of attracting, engaging, and retaining Gen Z talents. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, too.